Hello, jazz lovers, and welcome back to Crate Digging with Carter, Episode 5 for the Tone Poet releases of May of 2026. Still a little behind schedule on my end, but hoping to get caught up here soon. But I'm really excited to be with you guys today to talk about the two Tone Poet releases from May. So we've got two different releases. We've got Dexter Calling, and we've got Asante by McCoy Tyner. Before we jump into my thoughts on these two records, as always, I'd like to go over my review system. So I review the records on 4 different points and then give my overall score out of 10. So the 4 points I review everything on is, number 1 is presentation. How did the Tone Poet series do with recreating the original album, session photos, liner notes, things like that? And I give my thoughts both on the original presentation, how it was, and then also like how they did redoing it and any changes they made there as well. Then I talk about the approachability. Is this music something that you could listen to with the friends or family who may, have a slight appreciation for jazz, no appreciation for jazz? Or is this something that might be a little bit more complex and something to listen to with jazz heads only, if you will? And then finally, I talk about, next I talk about music quality. What do I think about the quality of the music? Is it essential for a jazz collection? Is it nice to have, or could you skip it? And then value. Is this a good value? Is it worth seeking out Tone Poet? Should you try to get an earlier reissue? And kind of what price range are you at to get an original? And then finally, like I said, my overall score out of 10. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and, I'm sorry, you hear that? Let me grab this real quick. Hello? Oh, it's Dexter Calling by Dexter Gordon. This is a 1961, originally issued in 1961 by Dexter Gordon with a killer rhythm section. Kenny Drew on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, Philly Joe Jones on drums. So it's going to be a great record with that killer of a rhythm section. And of course, the giant of jazz himself, Dexter Gordon on tenor saxophone. This, like I said, was issued in 1961 and was the second Blue Note album from Dexter after his hard bop comeback in the early 60s. This record is unique because it's got a wide variety of different types of tracks on here. 2 of these tracks, actually 2 or 3 of them, came from the Broadway musical The Connection, in which Dexter Gordon actually played in the Los Angeles version. He really liked that and took control of 2 different tunes, Ernie's tune and I Want More, and he wanted to put this down permanently to listen to in the future, so you can actually hear those tracks on here redone with this new rhythm section, which I think is really, really cool. You also have some classic, kind of funky soul jazz with Soul Sister on there. Modal Mood is just a fun, upbeat hard bop track. And then on the B side, you've got End of a Love Affair, which is a pop tune that is one of Dexter Gordon's favorite pop tunes, according to the liner notes here. So that's cool to hear him kind of foray into the pop world of the time. And then finally, Smile, which was made popular by Nat King Cole, is the last track on here. So a wide variety of all different types of tunes. My favorite track on here is Ernie's tune, which is a tune about according to the liner notes, kind of a psychopathic drug user. And it's kind of a really almost sweet, melancholy ballad with these moments of the spikes of intensity kind of smattered throughout. They describe it on the back as kind of a Jekyll and Hyde track, which I think is really cool. Dexter Gordon is well known for being a storyteller with the way he plays tenor sax, utilizing space, staying behind the beat, and putting a lot of emotion into his playing. And you can definitely hear that here throughout the entire record. If you're interested in getting exposed to Dexter Gordon and learning more about this storyteller, this is a great record to start with. There are others out there as well. This isn't necessarily the one you need to start with, but this is very, very cool. So that's my introduction there. Without further ado, let's jump into my thoughts on the presentation. So I think the presentation on here is really well done. Original Reed Miles cover design looked just like this. I really like how we have all of the artists listed up top, highlighting that killer rhythm section along with the man himself. Great photo on here of Dexter Gordon making that phone call. And I like what they did here with the Dexter Calling with the ... as it's kind of it could be the phone ringing. It could be that hold tone, that dee, So I really like that kind of use of typography to make that happen as well. Inside, great session photos. And then killer liner notes, as always, on the back with this era of Blue Note records. So this is a really solid Blue Note cover. I'm a huge fan of this. I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10 for presentation. It's fantastic. Maybe not my favorite cover of all time, but I think it's really unique. It really highlights a lot of what you're going to experience inside here. And I will say that there is a lot of phone references in this record. So obviously we have the picture of the phone, we got Dexter Calling, track titles on the back. Again, 2 or 3 of them are from the play called The Connection, which again, phone connection, there's a tie-in right there inherently. And there's also another track on the back called Clear the Decks, which, I mean, obviously his name is Dexter Gordon, but also could be like a Rolodex. So a lot of phone reference on here, which I really appreciate that tie-in. So, like I said, 8 out of 10 on presentation. Approachability, as I mentioned, this is a classic hard bop record. Nothing that is going to be too challenging to listen with. You can put it on in the background of dinner or hanging out with people, and it's going to be very nice to listen to. You may not want to play it before sleep. It could be a little bit too upbeat, but for most circumstances, it's a very nice track to listen to. Definitely keeps you engaged without doing anything too experimental or outside than the pocket, if you will. So this one's getting an 8 out of 10 on approachability. Music quality, I spoke with a little bit earlier. Killer rhythm section, great solos from everyone on here. Everyone has their time to shine. Dexter Gordon is playing in his prime for hard bop. It's fantastic. Is it quintessential? Do you need to have it as jazz collector? No, but this is just, blue note hard bop at its best. There's other examples across the catalog, of course, of this type of music, but this is really good. So I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Not a must-have, but definitely a great listen. And then finally on value. So I did a little research on this one. If you're looking to get this record as an original mono pressing, according to Discogs, you're looking to pay about $350. So that's quite a bit there. If you're willing to settle for a stereo, you might be able to get it for around $100. If you're willing to get a later 70s Liberty reissue, you might be able to find them in the $40 to $50 range. That being said, knowing that if you wait for sales and are strategic, you can get these guys for about $35 with Kevin Gray's excellent mastering. It fills the room. I think that this is a solid value. Yes, you can find some RVGs out there, potentially close to the same price point. You may have to sacrifice quality on there as well. So you could find other variations out there that might be interesting to listen to, but this is a great one to pick up. So for that, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, which leaves our overall score for Dexter Calling an 8 out of 10. A great record to listen to, classic hard bop, not a must-have, but a great addition to any Dexter Gordon fans collection, or really any jazz collection in general. So check this one out. I'm gonna hang this up right now. All right, let's move on to our second album of May of 2026. This is McCoy Tyner's Asante. Now, on this one, we've got a really interesting lineup. So McCoy Tyner is on the piano, but he also plays wooden flute a little bit on here as well. You've got Andrew White on alto saxophone, Buster Williams on bass, Billy Hart on drums, Ted Dunbar on guitar, Muntume, I believe I'm saying that correctly, on conga, and then Song Nai on vocals. So a little bit of a different lineup on here, and as you can tell from the cover on here, we've got some African dancers. This album is very much influenced by McCoy Tyner's African roots, and is really his first foray recorded into spiritual jazz, than which he's a leader of. I think this is a really interesting recording, and something else interesting about it is that this was the last Blue Note record that McCoy Tyner did. He was in a period of transition as he kind of left John Coltrane and was kind of finding his own path forward at the time. He recorded this. Blue Note says, we're not sure if this is going to sell. We're going to put it on the shelf. He makes some other albums. I forget who he records with, but he eventually puts out a record called Sahara, which is another spiritual jazz record. That blows up, is extremely popular, and then Blue Note says, oh man, we messed up. They rushed to the shelves 4 years after the recording in 1974, and they finally get to capitalize off of this record. So although this came out to the public after some other spiritual jazz work from McCoy Tyner, this was his first recording of spiritual jazz. And I think it is really interesting. It's a really fun listen. You've got a lot of unique components going on in here. So without further ado, let me talk about the presentation. So presentation-wise, we do not have any session photos, unfortunately. I guess none were taken at the time. So we do have a grainy photo of McCoy Tyner on the back. We've got some photos of African dancers, which is cool. And then the main photo up front, of course. And that's it. No other session photos. No other musician photos besides, like, I guess this right here. We've got some decent liner notes back here, which are interesting to read. And then, thankfully, Tone Poet gave us additional page and a half of liner notes to make up for the fact that we don't have session photos. So that was a really fun read as well. I really appreciate how Tone Poet, whenever they don't have the session photos, tends to add in additional material like that sheet of liner notes by Sid Schwartz in there that really kind of adds something to the package. So, this is not as cool of a presentation as other ones, but I think, Balloon did the best they could given what they had to work with. Not a gatefold either, just a single, regular kind of tip-on jacket here. So for presentation, I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. Approachability. Now, this record is not like your traditional hard bop, jazz, soul jazz. This is definitely taking a foray into something different, something spiritual, which may not be for everyone, but it's, for the most part, it's very approachable. I think it's really cool, really unique. You have some cool polyrhythms on there, but nothing that really challenges too much. It's, maybe outside of the norm from other types of jazz and what, people in, the US might be used to listening to, but I think it's still a really, really cool listen and not gonna too far, outside of the box where it would really challenge a listener. So I think for approachability on this one, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Definitely, like I said, outside of the norm, but still listenable and still a fun listen. I've enjoyed listening to this one at various points of the day, put on with my headphones, even sometimes like as I'm unwinding for the day. I think it's a really cool listen. Part of the reason, as we go into music quality, that this is such a unique record is the vocal work by Sung Nai. And she, I think, is like a school teacher or something like that, and she just does this ethereal vocalization over the first two tracks, Malika and Asante. She's not singing, but just kind of vocalizing notes, and it really kind of adds this cool spiritual element. Very talented vocalist, and I think it added a lot to the record. In addition, hearing different types of instruments like the wooden flute and the conga really kind of expands this record and makes it a fun and unique listen that stands out amongst other Tone Poets and other jazz records. So yeah, really, really enjoyed that. Malika and Asante on side one were probably my two favorite tracks. Malika is a Swahili word that means the creator, and Asante is a Swahili word that means thank you. This is a period of, like I said, kind of change and transition and hardship for McCoy Tyner, but he's taking this time to appreciate what he's been given and connect with his spirituality, with his creator, which I think is really, really cool. So you can definitely hear that on there. On the B side, you've got something else going on. You've got a song called Going Home, which kind of harkens back to McCoy's like love of like traditional blues music in jazz as well, and you kind of hear some more bluesy type of jazz. He's kind of pulling from all influences, both his African roots and like his US-based kind of Southern blues roots as well. And then Fulfillment is this joyous jubilation of a track, which I think is the most challenging track for me. Andrew White is just absolutely going on the saxophone, which can be a little bit hard to listen to at times, but it's a fun, joyous celebration and definitely some talented musicianship on there. So I think overall, really, really interesting listen. I enjoyed this. I think that it's definitely worth giving a listen. See if you like it. See if you want to kind of explore spiritual jazz. This is a great way to get into it without doing anything too far outside the pocket. So 9 out of 10 on this one for music quality. And then finally, value. Usually the 70s Blue Notes you can find for not too expensive. I found averages on Discogs for about $22 for this record. So you could find an original pressing out there. But this one, I think, is kind of the definitive. It's been mastered, of course, by Kevin Gray. It sounds fantastic. It fills the room. It's on high-quality vinyl. So I think if you want this record, this is the way to go. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 on value because, like I said, you can find other earlier pressings out there for cheaper, but this is a great one to have. You get the extra liner notes and just a really, really well-mastered product. So overall, I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Music quality really brings it up, while some of the other things kind of bring it down, but definitely worth a listen. If you want to start exploring spiritual jazz, if you already like spiritual jazz, if you like McCoy Tyner, check this one out. Really, really cool and interesting record. And those are our 2 records for May of 2026. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with my takes? Do you like spiritual jazz? Do you like hard bop jazz more? If you could be any jazz musician at any point in history, who would you be and why? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, good luck out there, crate digging.